So there was obviously a lot of vulnerability with posting those last 4 videos. The obvious reasons being that people are free to make whatever they will of what I have said in those videos, and they are just allowed to draw their own conclusion. That's a freedom that I just have to let people have if they're ever going to watch anything that I ever do, listen to anything that I have to say. And another reason why it feels very vulnerable is because I am hyper aware of all the weird little things that people could criticize just about my likeness and how I present myself on the screen, with all the verbal pauses, all the ums, and little things like how you can see that there might be some dandruff on my shirt. And then in the third video especially, which is the video that I tried the hardest to really wait until I could do it right. There are a couple parts where I spit, spit goes propelling into the camera, or I make a weird mouth noise. There's a part where I specifically hear this weird gurgle in my throat, It's like stuff that I'm probably looking for more than anybody else, fishing for those little problems in these videos with a fine-tooth comb. But I think it's valuable to come back to the conclusion that you're still a human. You're still a human being. No matter what spiritual experiences you have, you come back to being a human, subject to all of the human conditions. I hate when people say human condition. I'm just going to be totally honest, because you usually hear it when people are talking about art, and to me it usually means that the art doesn't actually have all that much to say, and so people can just say it's a big piece on the human condition. I can usually find something to appreciate about it anyway, but yeah, the condition of being human, as in, which it includes but is not limited to having dandruff, spitting, making weird mouth noises, making verbal pauses, maybe not always looking the most pretty on camera. All of these things. And these are all things that me of 7 years ago, and even my psyche, if you catch me on a bad day, still hates. Which is that you still end up being human. Joe started this journey with the intent of being greater than human, transcending being human. In some ways, he's gotten in touch with a nature of himself that is beyond being human. But there's still a relative human experience that is deeply flawed and vulnerable. Yeah, no, the awakened human is still a human, no matter who they are. And to be honest, people that have had full, complete realizations of self, they generally just seem like normal people. A lot of the gurus that are exciting and make for better YouTube videos, and even got me started, they've probably had some awakening experiences, but there is a good chance that they're a little bit wrapped up in the big, grandiose spiritual image. Somewhere between being Tony Robbins and some kind of monk, spiritual healer. The grand scale, easy to market, just persona of an enlightened person. And again, that's not to say that these people haven't had legitimate awakening experiences, haven't made some deep self-realizations. I have no doubt that they have. But in the same way that I talked about how you can be awake enough to see the problems with the ego, but not awake enough to have transcended the ego, you can be awake enough to realize how cool it is that you're awakening, and have an image of yourself as being an awakened person, and maybe even revel in that image around other people. But not awake enough to just come back to the place of, I'm just a normal, there's just a normal human, and the human doesn't become any more spiritually flourished. Yeah, no, it's interesting. But I think it's very necessary, for reasons I've touched upon, for there to be these big Tony Robbins-y, I hesitate to say like televangelists. I think that that's in a different category. But, people with big, blown out spiritual person images, because they're the most attention grabbing. And I will always say, any reason that you get started on a spiritual path is a great reason, even if it becomes irrelevant as you progress. Yeah, there's just a human. There's just a human, and I have completely and utterly failed at some initial intentions with spirituality, because they were irrelevant and misbegotten, and honestly, more a product of the mind than of any sort of desire of my true self. I like what Leo from Actualized said, which is that you might be getting into spirituality trying to transcend being human, or maybe even stop being human. He said, just consider the possibility, though, that awakening will make you more human. It will make human experience more vulnerable, and in some ways more painful. It doesn't mean it's going to be everybody's experience, but go into it with that expectation. A lot of spirituality is just simply asking the question, why isn't this good enough? Why have I thought that my rote human experience is not good enough? And of course, the mind will fire off a whole bunch of reasons, but they seem irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. I'm looking for some kind of spiritual magic while not appreciating the magic that just is existence in the first place. And again, I know that it's cliche. I mean, I know that I've heard that so many times, but I have not internalized that until very recently, and I'm internalizing it more all the time. That existence was not even a guarantee. And yet, I get to have it. And then I get existence, and the mind will come up with this or that thing that needs to be improved in order for me to be fulfilled within this one that I've been given. It's exactly those human imperfections in the way that I make these videos that make me want to take them down, but that also make me more of what I want to be and deliver the message that I want to deliver, which is that you can just be a normal person going about, you can literally be an average Joe and make some really profound realizations that touch you very deeply, regardless of how well you can immediately communicate them to other people. And the only advice I can ever give anybody is just to depend on your own experience. Your own grounded human experience at any given time. Even if that human experience is telling you, hey, this person that everybody says is incredibly awakened and self-realized, I find no merit in what they're saying. Fantastic, that's your experience. But constantly be seeking to feel even more and more deeply into your experience and make a greater sense of it. And of course, if you have a second and you're crazy and want to post a video, especially 30 in 1 month, go ahead and try to talk about it. But just recognize that the instrument that delivers that message will still be a human being.